Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a concept that literally changes how we look at our lives and our careers. We're talking about the architecture of success, a brilliant framework by author Mohammed Juma. Society usually feeds us this idea that success is a static destination, right? Like it's a finish line you cross and boom, you suddenly have a pile of money, a fancy title, and you're set for life. But what if we've been looking at it completely wrong? What if success isn't some magical place you arrive at, but actually a dynamic, lifelong blueprint that you are building brick by brick every single day? Well, that's exactly the inspiring story we're going to unfold today.
Mohammed Juma really hits the nail on the head here. He says success is much more than an endpoint. It is a continuous journey of growth, learning, and adaptation. This idea completely shatters that old illusion of the finish line. Think of this explainer as your personal invitation to step into your own hero's journey of continuous self-development. Because let's face it, every hero needs a path, and every great architectural masterpiece absolutely needs a blueprint. If we accept that success is this ongoing evolution, the big question is, how do we actually go about designing and navigating this incredible journey?
Well, that brings us right to Act 1, designing your personal compass.
Okay, so any hero setting out on a massive quest needs a compass before taking that first step, right? I mean, you can't build the architecture of your life if you have no clue what you want the final structure to look like. Success means vastly different things to different people. So the crucial first step is to define what your personal success actually looks like, projecting out, say, 10 years from now. Without this customized compass, you risk running on a treadmill for years, exhausting yourself for goals that don't even align with what you actually value. We've all been guilty of stating vague desires like, oh, I want to become successful. But honestly, that gives us zero direction. It's a wish, it's not a blueprint. To transform those dreams into actionable plans, you need a SMART goal. For example, I will complete a professional certification within 6 months and apply for 3 higher-level positions. See the difference? It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That is exactly how you start laying the actual bricks of your success architecture.
But hey, grand goals like that, they aren't built in a day, and they definitely aren't built through occasional frantic bursts of effort. They are constructed entirely through the daily mechanics of habit formation. It boils down to a simple loop: cue, routine, and reward. You encounter a trigger or a cue, you perform a routine, and you get a reward. By consciously mastering and kinda hacking this 3-step cycle, you can essentially program lasting positive behaviors right into your daily life. Things like reading every day, managing your time better, or finally sticking to that exercise routine. These everyday habits are literally just stepping stones on your lifelong journey.
Now, let's move on to Act 2, the crucible of mindset. So, you've got your compass, you're building those daily habits, but let's be real, the terrain ahead is rugged. It's going to be filled with inevitable obstacles, critics, and unforeseen setbacks. How you handle those challenges is entirely dictated by the mindset you carry into the crucible. Now, a fixed mindset tragically assumes your abilities are just set in stone. It's that voice saying you either have the talent or you don't. But adopting a growth mindset, believing that skills are actively forged through effort and learning, that is your ultimate weapon for continuous evolution. It means you actually embrace challenges, you actively seek out the lessons hidden inside criticism, and most importantly, you fiercely replace that negative self-talk with an intense focus on progress. You've got to celebrate those small wins, guys, because it's exactly this growth mindset that acts as your armor when the journey gets exceptionally tough.
And trust me, the journey will get tough. Which leads to a really important question. What happens when you inevitably fail? Notice I said inevitably. On any hero's journey, eventually, you have to face the dragon. In this architecture of success, that dragon is failure. We really need to normalize this. Every single successful person in history has faced devastating setbacks. The illusion is thinking that failure is the opposite of success. No way. The reality is that it's a fundamental part of the process. It's the very forge where your character is tested and strengthened.
So here is exactly how a growth mindset defeats that dragon. You have to reframe failure. Stop seeing it as a definitive defeat and start seeing it as your most valuable teacher. When you stumble, and you will, it actually hands you this incredibly rich set of data. You use it to develop resilience, to identify where your true weaknesses lie, to improve your future decision-making, and to drastically increase your adaptability. To transform those setbacks into stepping stones, you've got to make a habit out of asking active reflection questions. Things like, okay, what did I actually learn here? What can I improve? And what am I going to do differently next time? Taking this analytical approach proves that failure isn't the end of your story. It's literally the raw material for your continuous growth. Having conquered the mind, we transition to Act 3, sustaining the lifelong journey. If success is an ongoing process and not just a final endpoint, then your stamina becomes everything. To keep walking toward that endless horizon, you've got to become an absolute master at managing your vital resources, your time, your knowledge, and your finances. Let's start with the most precious, unrecoverable one, time. Once a day is gone, it is gone forever. Poof! So using a highly effective daily planning framework is how you fiercely protect your focus. It starts super simple. Identify your top 3 priorities for the day. Just 3 critical things that will actually move the needle. Next, you schedule entirely focused, distraction-free work sessions to execute them. And finally, you do a quick evening review to assess what you actually got done. It's a beautifully simple yet ruthlessly effective way to make sure your daily actions actually align with that 10-year compass we built back in Act 1.
The second vital resource you have to manage is your knowledge. We live in a world that is changing at a breathtaking pace, right? What worked perfectly yesterday might be completely obsolete tomorrow. Because of this, lifelong education is absolutely non-negotiable. Whether you're drawing insights from books, taking structured courses, finding mentorship, getting hands-on experience, or just networking with smart people, you have to continuously pull from these wells. But here's the catch. Knowledge only becomes truly valuable when you apply it consistently. It's not just about consuming a bunch of information. It's about utilizing all these diverse methods to continuously adapt and upgrade your skill set in the real world. And our third critical resource, finances. Now, financial intelligence isn't about some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about applying disciplined logic to sustain your journey over the long haul. There are direct, undeniable correlations here. Spending less than you earn, that creates discipline. Investing for the future secures your long-term growth. Building up those emergency savings provides vital security when things go sideways, and avoiding unnecessary debt guarantees your freedom. When you consistently apply basic, intelligent financial principles like these, they compound over a lifetime into massive, massive results. This kind of discipline gives you the rock-solid stability you need to keep building your architecture without constantly worrying it's going to collapse.
Now let's zoom out to our grand finale, the endless horizon, building a legacy.
As you master your resources, fine-tune your compass, and leverage that growth mindset to push through failures, you inevitably reach this profound realization. The ultimate peak of self-development isn't just about the self at all. True success actually expands outward. A genuine legacy extends so much further than personal wealth or fancy corporate titles. You lead by the character you display, the knowledge you generously share, the service you provide to others, the deep relationships you cultivate, and your overall contribution to your community. When you lead by example, through deep empathy and supreme integrity, you establish a culture of excellence all around you. At that point, you aren't just building a successful life for yourself, you are building an enduring legacy that will outlast you.
Which brings us to our final, somewhat provocative thought for today. Your future is shaped entirely by the decisions you make today. So what legacy are your decisions building right now? It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? But honestly, it's also incredibly empowering. Success isn't just one single achievement, it's your lifelong process. So here's my challenge to you. Start exactly where you are today. Use exactly the tools you have right now. Cultivate that powerful growth mindset, embrace your failures as your greatest teachers, and just keep moving forward on your continuous journey. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I seriously cannot wait to see the architectures of success you all build.